At what point did you feel like you could actually put together your own show about this? I mean, that must have been kind of a tough transition to go from dealing with the situation with your mom to actually being able to talk about it and facilitate
Yeah.
other people talking about it.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I mean, my mother died in 2018 and I started the podcast in 2023. So it had been 5 years and we'd all been through a pandemic, which pretty much like grubbed our brains in various ways, you know?
Yeah.
So it was a moment of, I feel like I have enough distance and I can talk about this in a very straight way. Like I don't really get emotional about it necessarily. And I oddly even have a sort of dark sense of humor about it all because that's my coping mechanism is humor and sarcasm.
Yeah, a lot of us in this, yeah.
Yeah. So I felt like I was in a good place and could throw myself into that Christian Science world again and hear the little catchphrases and the trigger words and not freak out. But I will say that about 5 episodes in, I think I have like 20 episodes up, I started to feel like my mental health was taking a little bit of a hit.
Mhm.
And I had a therapist on the show who was an ex Christian Scientist, and she said, yeah, I mean, you're not a professional. You're not trained to take on people's trauma the way we are. This isn't something that you have studied to learn how to really do and kind of keep yourself safe from the terrible things that people are going to be telling you. So I had a moment. I had a moment where I sort of thought, maybe this isn't the best idea for me to be doing this. But I have to say, I got past it pretty quickly because it was incredibly cathartic to share with these people because I get to tell bits and bobs of my own story too. And it'll bring back things I'd forgotten about in my childhood. And also, I think a lot of the people that I interviewed are like me far enough away that we can really look at the whole picture and see what was appealing about it, what was comforting about it. I mean, that's one of the things I like about the podcast, a little bit culty
Mhm.
with Sarah Nippy from Nexium, is they really focus on explaining why the group was appealing. Like,
Yeah.
what got you in? What did you think it
Yeah,
was?
I really like that. I like it when that's explained. I think that's a huge thing people don't get is like, well, why did
Yeah.
those people do that? Like, well, why didn't they leave?
If you just talk about a horror show, no one's going to understand why people stay in these belief systems for as long as they
Yeah.
do. And so I think it's important to give the whole picture of what Christian Science was to us. And I'm very open about it. Was a huge comfort to me. You know, sitting down to pray as a child was enormously comforting and relaxing, and it felt good. And I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to pretend that that wasn't a huge part of the appeal was I had this thing I could go to for comfort, like a parent, a loving, caring parent that I never had, you know? And that's why it was so hard to let go of. And that's when I did finally let go of it. It really was a death for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think that's a really, really good point to bring up is why somebody would cling to this despite all the negative
Yeah.
outcomes. There's
Yeah.
positives. There's
There are
a
reasons.
reason why you see in so many of these discussions about cults, people being like, well, they shouldn't have gotten involved to begin with and blah blah blah. Like the
Right.
person was like, that
Yeah.
looks terrible. I'm in. Like I can't wait to be
Yeah.
abused.
Nobody does
Like,
that.
yeah, like,
Nobody
please
does
take
that.
my money and I wanna go work for free for, all day. That sounds
And be sleep
fantastic. Like, I
deprived.
love it.
And
Like, who does like, I mean, maybe there's one
yeah,
guy who's weird
nobody.
and likes that, but, like, I doubt it. It's like,
Yeah.
there's good things. Usually good things, and then things turn bad, and there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, or in my case, you grow up and you get out into the world and you see how things really are.
Yeah,
And what you were raised to believe just doesn't make sense anymore. And you come to a much more logical approach to the world.
yeah.